and I want to be able to keep track of the voice chat. But so I'm not going to be reading word for word everything that I've written down. It's easiest to start at the beginning. When I realized that I was non-human, when I awakened, um, there really wasn't ever a time when I wasn't aware of it on some level. I spent so much time, like around my family, pretending to be a cat, uh, specifically an Oriental short hair cat. I was obsessed with this one breed, which I'm still like very connected to now. Um, I mimicked my dog like all the time. I felt like I should be able to do exactly what she did, and it made me dysphoric when I wasn't able to curl up like she did or lay down like she did, and it just it stood out to me, um, how much it upset me, um, to the point that, I would do things I knew were objectively strange, like eating out of a bowl like a dog, just to get that kind of experience. Um, and I always additionally had connections to magic and dream work, and they were intuitive. I taught myself how to meditate without even knowing what that was. I uh, would dance myself into ecstatic trances without knowing what that was, and eventually I'd have visions. I, I left a coin and gum for my great grandmother, my great great grandmother, excuse me, um, at for a funeral to make sure she had food and money in the afterlife. And uh, there's a lot of things that I went through that I just were intuitive parts of my non-humanity. And it was being actually bitten by another girl who told me she was a werewolf in middle school. She wasn't. It was a pretend pack that was a game for them. And it was when they started making it clear that this was a game for them and they stopped taking it seriously and they started treating it like a joke, that they were making fun of me for taking seriously, that I realized, like, oh, no one else is feeling these these strong feelings of like shape shifting that I was getting. I was shifting and no one else was. And it made me angry. Um, it made me really angry because no one else was taking it seriously. And when they dissolved and they left and they just stopped being my friends and started being mean to me, I was still left with the shifts and all of the instincts and all of the everything that awakened in me. And I first learned that there were others that I could connect with about this through um, finding the Experience Project on my 12th birthday. Um, and it was my 12th birthday. It's wild. It's almost like one of those, magical awakening movies, except it was less I walk into the water and my scales arrive, and it was more I looked up wizards online and I stumbled into real shapeshifters. But I found these like different therian and shifter communities that were at the time really mixed. Um, and I kind of ended up in one of those like teen pseudo cults where you make a little pact and you're all just kind of messed up and you accidentally create a weird power structure, but, like, it was okay and mostly fun. Um, but, um, I it was through all of these experiences of shifting and experiencing joy and expressing my non-humanity that helped me learn how to take control of it and really brought me a lot of joy and creativity in my life. And then we go to um, this bit about language. Putting words to these experiences really solidified them for me as real because I was being made fun of beforehand. Um, I was alone beforehand. I didn't know what was going on. And it gave me words to express my feelings and a framework to understand them through. It helped me learn to control my shifts and, or at least otherwise explain why I kept fighting people who were bullying me. Um, they deserved it. I have no remorse. But uh, as I um as I found more and more communities, there were just so many. There were the Elinari elves, and there were draconic communities, there were unicorns, there were, there were the otherkin broadly, there were all kinds of therian groups, and there were demonists, and I had so much breathing space, and I think over time, language came to strangle my experiences because around circa 2010, um, Therians and otherkin came to Tumblr. They migrated from LiveJournal and Dreamwidth over to Tumblr, and things kind of started to collapse when maybe 2014, it started to be all about what language we used to talk about ourselves and how we talked about it and what was really otherkin and what wasn't really otherkin, and like it devolved into, and a lot of other sub communities they died, were erased or marginalized or were swallowed by the otherkin community, and all of the discussions were about regulating the language we use to talk about ourselves, and it really pushed me away from myself, and it made me mask a lot. Uh, I think I started masking to keep up with the new language and the new ideas, and I I very aggressively fought for the right to call myself transspecies, to use the word species dysphoria, and when I dared to ask for help fundraising paw tattoos to alleviate my species dysphoria and called it part of my transition, people were pissed. I completely divided things. And I like half of people supported me and half of people thought I was going too far. And I, in the end, everyone came to agree with, the people who supported me, but I still had the scars from being called all sorts of horrible things during that time. And I I took a lot of blows trying to carve myself out of space, trying to be aggressively what I am in a space that refused to see me, in a space that refused to make space for me no matter how much I tried to carve it out and make that space and fight for it. and I think I got lost in just fighting. I think I genuinely got lost in just fighting about language and who has the right to be what, and it forced me away from myself, and it forced me away from my own beliefs and from my own creativity. It forced me to be reactive to other people instead of creative out of my own self. And eventually, uh, um, eventually a certain topic of discourse came up regarding a movie that depicted otherkin conversion therapy. Um, and it was a big deal for me because unfortunately at home conversion therapy was um a part of my experience, specifically for being non-human. Um, I won't get into any details. I don't want to, yes, it was Wolf. And we tried to speak out against it, and people got very upset. Um, yeah. Um, and when I spoke up about, hey, I've experienced real conversion therapy, this movie isn't, a hypothetical. People didn't support me or acknowledge me or hear me. And I began to feel like I was fighting the entire otherkin community in addition to the idea that we all must be human, etc., etc. And it just destroyed how I felt about the entire community and destroyed how I felt about myself because it made me angrier and angrier and it made me mask even more. And it's all because I had this initial pain and everyone seemed to know that it was dangerous, but no one took it seriously when I expressed that I had experienced something serious. Like it it's this two sides that but it was my friend asked if I were to reapproach the community I left with commentary. I said I wouldn't because I wasn't really arguing with the whole community. I was arguing with a clique who wanted power in said community. Um, and if I were to go back and express things broadly to any community at this point, I would say to not let cliques of seemingly smart people who know things, people who are really able to present their ideas well, don't let them dictate your experiences of your community. To express, don't let them dictate how you express yourself and make your non-humanity a source of joy and creation and not a thing you have to mask to fit in or a thing you have to argue for your right to express before you do so. And that's where I come to, like, P shifters and physical non-humans are the ones that I've found myself with here now. Y'all are the ones creating and expressing yourselves and making new community passionately. And you're talking about centering, shifting as a practice and taking non-humanity like seriously. It's like a real part of our lives. And like no matter what anyone else says, and understanding our struggles. And I notice like it's been documented and like noted that a lot of us are people of color or otherwise like have non-humanity tied to our cultural backgrounds. And like finding other people like that has meant a lot to me because I felt like that was really missing in otherkin spaces. Uh, and I'm glad to be here in P Shifter and Physical Non-Human and just like Shifter spaces, even if it means getting more pushback from people who are afraid of what I'm expressing. And that what was said earlier about your fear is going to step on you and you just have to stab it in the foot until you don't care what people say was like love that. I passed that on and I want to conclude with the idea that fear and anger are two very powerful things. They can drive people towards conservatism, toward hiding, and becoming angry at those who don't hide. They can drive you toward agreeing with your own oppression and becoming angry at those who point out that you're marginalized and vulnerable and deserve not to be, and in the ways that you are marginalized and vulnerable. But they can also be powerful tools, fear and anger. Fear is an instinct that we have that lets us know when we might be in danger, and paying attention to it can teach us where we need to strengthen ourselves and our communities against that. Anger can be a mighty, righteous tool against fear. Righteous anger can empower us against things that put us down to fight them and make things better. But neither emotion should ever consume you forever. I used to be aggressively non human, spitefully non human, non human in reaction to things that made me angry, as if almost like it was a fight in itself. And now I feel like I've found a space where I can be passionately non human, joyfully non human, and creatively non human, which is what I have been craving for over a decade. Thank you. Thank you. Um, if anyone has questions, comments, etc., floor is open. Thank you.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that.
Uh, thank you. I worked pretty hard all day. I wanted to really reflect on what I've been thinking about since I got here.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that. I'm trying to find
Let
around.
me
Good.
drop a link to this in the chat so anyone can read this and you can archive it. Feel free.
Definitely, I'll do that.
And what you said about we need to stop just archiving our communities and start creating them like I cried. That's the shit. I'm about that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's for the archival thing. I've been archiving a bunch of stuff lately, and like I see it, and mainly it's me looking at it and saying these are opinions, but slowly over time I see that there's a growing culture in the P shifter communities, and I'm like, so y'all have a culture. Where are you hiding it? I want to see more. I want it like I think I have it in the resources. It's a website, a WordPress website where I archived a bunch of like stuff on Amino. Um, and I see it, and I'm like, I want to see more like celebration days. I want to see more Shifttober. I want to see more cultural stuff where we have our own internet culture and also offline culture where we all know, hey, we're having a conversation here. It shouldn't just be I have to go back and look at these old posts that nobody's talking about anymore. I don't want to like just have to build my community based off of things that are old, based off of things that are archived. I want the community to be here right now all the time. So that's why I'm
Yeah,
saying you have to start creating. You can't just, wait for other people to do it for you. It just won't work.
and it feels like people here actually want to create, and that is it's beautiful, and it feels like it inspires me, and I really appreciate having that space. And yeah, I look forward to where this is all going.
I do too because I being stuck in like the otherkin spaces was so like it was mentally draining having to fight
Yeah.
for what I thought was who I was, and then people pushing back on that, and having opinions that were not seen as quote unquote valid. Because I there was one instance where I was in a otherkin server, and there had been a discussion that traveled from Tumblr over to this Discord server, which involved
Mhm.
me, a very two very prominent people in that community. Um,
Mhm.
and once that traveled over, they began to argue about the validity of another identity right in front of me when I was somebody saying that, hey, these people deserve to be here. These people deserve to have a name underneath this umbrella that you have crafted. You've crafted this culture. They deserve to be there too. I and I'm not saying that I was the only one fighting for it. I was did it like no, I'm not putting myself at the forefront. It's the fact that this happened because I even mentioned a group of non-humans to be under a umbrella term. It happened. It was reactionary. Like it was like what did I do to like deserve people like constantly saying, well, they don't deserve here because they don't deserve to be here because and their history and and they're not real. What did I deserve to? What did I? Because I'm 19 now, so I don't know when that was. I don't remember. I know I was a minor though when that happened, so it was like I was just here. I was just trying to find
Yeah.
like, a community, and then there's just like two prominent members of the community who are old enough to know what the start of the therian communities, to know what happened, the history, to archive it, and the entire server basically had tumbled over into praising them when I left the server. And it was like, what? I thought we were supposed to be proud of who we are. I thought we were supposed to be happy. I thought we were supposed to be protecting other people who are just like us. But apparently that wasn't the deal. Yeah, like I just wanted to get out. I couldn't do it. After that I was like, "Oh, no, I don't feel connected because this is the attitude when I present myself as anything other than what you want." I just, yeah, aggressively. Yeah, it was factual kin. It was the factual kin stuff. I was like, I genuinely can't. I just backed up. I was like, nope, mm-mm. And I started like like wrapping like my identity and how it worked with a lot of different people, uh-huh, like the server, it was no, with a lot of different people, I started like deciding, hey, maybe I should go talk to people who are being pushed out of that community. Maybe I feel more comfortable there, and I did. I think the first few people I found talking about p shifting was bear with me shifting, um, and he's on Tumblr, and he just
Yeah.
had like a
Mm.
bunch of stuff, and I was like, this is this is what I want. I asked a bunch of questions. I did my research. I did what I had to do, and then I found Harlequin, and I was like, okay, I did what I have to do. I made documents talking about physical non-humanity. I talked about it because I just decided, hey, I need to be on this. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to understand that the people that are pushing these people out, the P shifters and physical and factual can, the people who are pushing those people out are going to end up following the same trend of accepting it. One day they're just going to be like, it's under the rug. It's not under the rug. It's we know what you did. We know what you taught you. We know what you said. There's chat logs. We know what you said to these people. You can't brush
Yeah.
it under the rug as if it never happened. We know what you said. So it's like I don't think I'm able to feel comfortable in those spaces, but I don't think I'm going to go back and introduce myself as otherkin, therian, all this other stuff. No, I'm true to my labels. Shifter. It's either that or I die. It's either that or I die. I'm being serious. It's either I accept this or end me because I can't keep running back into the closet of hiding under different labels that are not me. I can't do that because I then I become part of the problem when I see other, physical non-humans being hurt by this rhetoric that yeah, I just I can't. And most of these other Therians, they're not the problem. They're not the problem. It's people who use said, history to push back on people. That's why we're trying to
Yeah.
create new history because our history is kind of full of people who are just, bad. Our piece of the history is kind of full of people who are liars and bad, and we can't let that reputation be taken as what we are generally. No. I've met actual good people here. And so I'm astonished when people are like, "Oh, well they have a bad history, so you can't include them anywhere." No, that's not how that works. No. Okay? It's just it's a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's frustrating because I understand the kind of, like, conservative ideas and like, fear and that, like, drives that kind of thing because at first, I was a Therian who was anti-fiction kin because all that we had were the troll Navi kin that showed up in, like, the late 2000s. I think that was God, that's old. Um, like, I'd only ever seen trolls, and I was using a very specific kind of cultural logic that just didn't apply to fiction kin and wasn't opening my mind to the idea. And when I finally talked to someone, like what it wasn't until we ended up with a fictive host that I sort of it's complicated. It wasn't until I ended up being a fictive and not realizing it that, I was like, "Oh, shit. Is fiction kin real? Oh, no, I have fiction kin feelings. God, no, now I have to deal with this." And it really forced me to combat the, like, respectability fears that I had because it didn't fit this respectable idea of what could be real, based on science. So, like, I I just kind of glitched out until I learned to just accept myself, and the same thing happened with plurality. I was skeptical of that until, "Oops, I'm plural." And, I was skeptical, like, I was anti-factkin aggressively, and I'm so sorry I let that poison, like, the alter-human community as much as I did, because I had a hand in that. I was a name that people looked up to, and I had a hand in that, and that sucks because I went and talked to Factkin and, uh, they're fine, and I get it now, and I have to, like I I've made reparations and that, like, before the Alt H server closed, we'd made space for that, and I've continued to make space for that, but, like, it's really just this anxiety about respectability and about what makes us look good and what makes us look like crazy people, and, like, it's going to keep I feel like there's always going to be more conservative factions of these communities and more progressive factions in these communities in terms of, like, what's acceptable, and it's frustrating that so many people lean towards, non-human conservatism, essentially.
Yeah, I just like that's why everything to do with like creativity, we have to start our own culture. We can't feast off of theirs. Like even if
Yeah,
we are a part of that community still, even if under the umbrella we are still alter human, it is um there is a difference in culture. There is a difference in attitude. There is a difference in everything. We have to create. If we do not create, then we will perish. Our entire thing will perish. And I
I
know,
agree.
yeah, so like some people, I know some people don't see p shifting as this grandiose thing you need to flaunt around, and you don't need to flaunt around. But how would you feel if somebody came over from another land and said, "We don't want you here because we want to make this space ours." And with that space, it wasn't exactly always yours. You shared it. But now because you are making them look bad, they no longer want you. That
Mhm.
that that's like that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how I would describe it if we're talking about,
Mm,
respectability politics.
yeah. Yeah,
It,
P-shifters were pushed out over time.
yeah. Even if
I watched it happen.
yeah, even if they like, collaborated and stuff like that, or they maybe saw eye to eye one day, but apparently the identity is so bad that the person doesn't matter. I just don't get it. I just hope like,
Yeah,
in the future, uh there's more. There's more. I think that's why I try to put myself in physical non-human spaces and push for uh P shifters to be in physical non-human spaces, to be included when they talk about us, to be included when they talk about hollow theorists, to be included because a lot of people do not include them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I'm glad, like, it was through inclusion in the Holothere community that I found P-shifters and, like, became more open to them. So I think that's a good move, and I'm here with you on that. And I agree, yeah, P-shifters were part of the foundation of the therian community.
Yeah, that's what Atticus said. Um,
Yeah, I was agreeing.
which is documented if you go back to the old Ware forums. Yeah, like that's just
Yeah,
just doesn't like all of it's archived, and then they just say, "Oh, we're gonna rewrite your history." Like no, no, like even
and if
I
it's
wasn't even. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and if it's all about like, who has the most cults, we can point the finger at Fictionkin and Soul Bonders,
Mm-hmm.
because who boy, there's a lot there. Therians have had quite a few of their own. Otherkin have like they've had their own too. I don't know any by name, but oh, what you pointed out star seeds, I think, at one point.
uh,
So like, yeah, there's
yeah,
or someone pointed out star seeds.
somebody.
Yeah, but like, yeah, there's all kinds of things that you can point to in other communities, and it's not about the identity. It's about people behaving weird.
What's a soul bond? I don't have like a description on hand. I know I have. I was doing research earlier, but I don't remember. Um,
I can get my friend who is a soul bonder to describe it. Um, it's briefly described a strong mental connection to a fictional character or world, usually a fictional character, uh, that often involves like conversing with them in your head. And it started as a writer thing, as just like a thing that, like a lot of writers say they talk to their characters in their heads. And it started out as that and then kind of progressed into a spiritual, like, these people actually exist in other worlds and we're connecting to them over there. And not everyone agreed with that. It kind of split. The spiritual side kind of became the definition, but uh, broadly described, it is a robust mental connection with a fictional character. I will get my friend to give resources, though.
yeah, I have a few. I have the card. I don't know if that's good enough or not, because that has a few websites that are like soul whispers and stuff like that. And it has a bunch of different websites. That's all I have on me.
Oh yeah, this is a pretty good one. I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, but it has a bunch of different stuff. I don't. I just have a
Oh wow,
like
it actually has the history
yeah.
from where it was coined and stuff. Nice. Nice, nice.
There's different like Tumblr blogs. If I don't know if they're still up, I haven't clicked the links. But yeah.
Oh, this has been super great. If anyone else, has any further thoughts or comments, feel free to drop them in chat and ping me or DM me or whatever. But like, yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for this chance to talk.
I'm glad you said something, okay? Because I feel like just words in general. If anybody is willing to talk, talk. That's. If anybody's willing to talk, talk. That's my
Yeah. Good night. Good night, friends.
Good night.